Terminator Genisys is directed by Alan Taylor and stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jason Clarke, Jai Courtney, and Emilia Clarke, and takes place in the middle of the timeline of Terminator 1 and a futuristic timeline of some kind, and it's all sort of meshed together in an attempt to weave through the first two films while also adding to them. In this futuristic time period, a Terminator is sent back, as we know, in 1984 to destroy Sarah Connor. And just like in the first film, Kyle Reese gets sent back in time to try to stop that from happening. But this time around, an older version of the T-800, played again by Schwarzenegger, is there protecting Sarah Connor and has taught her to be a badass already. She's no longer a fearful waitress. She's already the Sarah Connor from T2. And this big corporation is about to launch an app called Genisys that connects everyone's electronic devices that is going to blow up everyone, kill everyone, and everyone has to stop that from happening. And that's all I'm going to say about the plot of this movie. And if you've seen any of the trailers, you unfortunately know a lot more about the plot that you shouldn't know that I will not ruin just in case you haven't watched any of the incredibly spoilerific trailers that disappointed me quite a bit, because I can tell you that virtually every single action set piece except for the very last one has been ruined for you in those trailers, which is vastly dumb. Now, I'm a huge fan of the first two Terminators. I've liked them my entire life. I think not only are they incredibly fun science fiction action movies, they're important movies. These are movies that had to happen for us to get to a place that we are now in today. Those two films both pioneered incredible animatronic and CGI effects and are still timeless classics to this day. And Genisys tries to explain certain things that happen in the first two films while also adding a lot to them. Some of the things I liked are the little things they explain. Like, for instance, in the first Terminator, when Kyle Reese lands back from time traveling, he lands all hard, he splats right on the concrete, and I was always like, why did he land so terribly and Arnold had like this epic intro? This movie gives you a reason for that, which are cool. There are little bits of connective tissue here this film makes between the first two and this one that added to it, that improved it. But for the most part, I found things they did with the timeline to be incredibly confusing, really convoluted, and some of it makes no sense looking back. In fact, this movie in a lot of ways really ruins the first two movies in regards to the timeline. Those first two movies are always going to be good. I'm never going to say the sequel ruins the other films that are good. That can't happen in my opinion. Those are good movies. They're always going to be good movies. But the problem here is that looking back on them and then trying to connect them with Genisys, it's virtually impossible. There are so many plot holes now. It's like they tried to do so many different things with this timeline to create a new story when I really feel like they should have just went in a different direction. How many times can you have Sarah Connor and John Connor be in the same storyline? It's like, okay, I get it. Some shit happened with John Connor and Sarah Connor. Let's do something else. There had to have been something else of interest that happened during the Terminator storyline. There had to have been something else besides the same two people over and over again. But pushing the story aside, let's talk about the characters for a minute. At first, I felt like Emilia Clarke was just doing a really bad Linda Hamilton impression, but her character did grow on me as the film proceeded. She was a badass, she was really tough in the role, and she was very believable in that aspect. But I gotta be honest, I think her and Jason Clarke really were overselling their performances in this movie. There were times where you were just looking at them and you were like, they're acting right now, and that's not a good sign. Let's talk a little bit about Jai Courtney. Look, I got nothing against him. He's probably a really nice guy, but I find him very bland in movies, and he's in all these big movies like Die Hard 5 and Jack Reacher and the Divergent films, and he's just very serviceable. I've never really found him to be great in any film, and he is, again, serviceable. Most of the performances in this movie are serviceable, save for one. The best part of this movie is what I was most concerned about, and that is Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was really afraid that he was just going to be like, yes, I'm the Terminator, and here I am in the being a Terminator movie again, and blah, 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 and I'm back, yes, shut up. This is bullshit. All of it is bullshit. Stupid. I'm dumb. But he was actually the best part of this movie. He really still worked as a Terminator. There was a good string of humor throughout this movie. That was one of the best parts of this movie. It's actually a pretty funny film. And that aspect of him, the humor, was great. I liked him in the role. He was really good still. But the film's attempts to connect to the originals using a CGI Arnold and actually doing shot-for-shot recreations of scenes straight out of Terminator just felt weird. It was just odd. It was like the best parts of this film were when you could see them actually cutting a scene exactly like James Cameron cut it. And those attempts to throw back to the originals just didn't work for me because it felt like a different movie was suddenly happening under a different director. The other issue I have here with this movie is that I don't really feel much of it was actually memorable. I don't really remember an action scene that stands out to me. There's a lot of action, a lot of stuff gets blown up, a lot of things are shot at, but none of it was really filmed in a memorable way. Not a single action scene in this movie is more memorable than just one action scene in T2. Take the tanker chase at the finale, for instance. That is one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and the action in this movie just adopted that modern day mentality of editing that you have to show everything from a different angle constantly, and it's very annoying to watch when you're like, that shot's cool. Oh, you cut to a different one. Well, I liked that one shot, and then you cut away. I can't really say the action is all that great because it just comes off as fine. And this is a Terminator movie, a franchise built on amazing action sequences, and they should be better than fine. And a friend of mine leaving this movie said exactly what I'm thinking right now. He said, I can't recommend this movie simply because it was slightly better than I thought it was going to be, and that it was simply maybe all right. We can't keep saying movies are okay and that was better and oh, it was fine, just have fun with it, turn your brain off. That's why studios keep making movies that are just okay or not that great, because a lot of people keep saying, well, it's fine, you can have fun and turn your brain off. The first two Terminator films are basically sci-fi masterpieces. I mean, they really are. This movie should have been a lot better than a turn your brain off type movie. But if you feel like you will enjoy that type of movie, go out and see Terminator Genisys. You'll probably have fun with it. There's some good humor in it. Arnold is great, but for the most part, the action is disappointing. There's nothing terribly awe-inspiring about it, and the characters are bland, and the timeline is kind of screwed up now, and I don't really know what they were thinking, to be honest. I'm gonna give Terminator Genisys a C. I'm hearing James Cameron gets the rights back for Terminator in 3 years. So if they decide to do a sequel, maybe James Cameron can make it? He's probably going to make nothing but Avatar movies for the rest of his life, though. Okay. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. You guys are the best. And I want to take this time really quickly to just say thank you for all of the awesome emails I get, because I get a lot of emails from people who tell me they're fans, and some that are really touching, who have told me that I've inspired them in some way. Look, I'm just a guy in Ohio who loves talking about movies, so that literally blows my mind, and I just want to say thank you to all you guys, and I apologize that I can't always respond to everyone. I really wish I could, but I can't. It's impossible. But I really want to let you guys know that I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much. And as always, if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.